Hello, my name is Declan Mulready from the Audi Academy. In this section we're going to take a look at the Audi R8 from a few different perspectives. We'll start out with the exterior, then we'll move to the interior, we'll take a look at safety. Needless to say, we have to look at performance, and we'll also take a look at the technology that makes up the R8 from two different perspectives, one from an engineering perspective and two from an electronics perspective. When we talk about exterior design of the R8, we can look at it from two different points of view. We can look at it from a functional point of view, and we can also look at it from an aesthetic point of view. Starting out with the front end of the car has the Audi trademark grille. However, in this case, it is lower and it's also wider. You'll also notice both sides of the main grille, we have two additional grilles, and also in here we house two radiators to help keep the engine cool in the car as well. When you take a look at the lighting on the car, some people say that this is the most aggressive application we have of the LEDs. But if you choose to get the V10 model, we also have LED low beams and high beams built in here as well. In fact, this is the first production car in the world to use this. Speaking of the headlights, when the designer was designing this car, he was looking for inspiration of something that was very aggressive but also very elegant. And he pulled inspiration from an eagle. And if you stand dead on in front of the car and take a look, you'll actually see the shape of an eagle's head with the way the headlights are designed. Why don't we move towards the back of the car and let's show you some other functional elements on the car. As you know, the engine is housed in the middle of the car. One of the challenges with this is getting enough air in there, A, to feed the engine, and B, to cool it. So, where the engine gets all its air, we have an air feed on this side for the right bank of cylinders, we have an air feed on that side for the left bank of cylinders. In addition to that, we have an oil cooler in the lower portion, which actually cools the transmission, and on the driver's side we have an oil cooler that actually cools the engine. We've talked about some of the functional elements on the front of the car, like the splitter, and also on the side of the car, the air intakes, which help cool the engine and give the engine fresh air. When we come to the back of the car, we have two additional elements. The first one is the rear spoiler. This is not something that's just there to look good. It's a very, very functional piece. One, it provides downforce as the car is traveling at high speed, and the second is it offers additional cooling for the engine. Next, if we move down, we'll take a look at this arrangement right here. This is something that's called a rear diffuser. And what it helps do is help the air exit the back of the car as quickly and as cleanly as possible. It does two things. One, it reduces drag, and the second thing it does is reduce lift. In other words, prevents the car from lifting up at high speeds. It might seem strange to talk about safety when you're talking about the R8. And let's face it, this car's top speed is just shy of 200 miles an hour. It's got an incredible 0 to 60, and going through corners it can pull incredible G's. However, think about it this way, if something did go wrong at high speed, you need to have something very, very solid around you in order to be able to survive a high-speed accident. With the Audi R8, you've got quite a few safety systems. As I've mentioned before, one of the most important things in any crash is not things like airbags, but the structure that the car is built around. And in the case of the R8, it's built around a very, very exclusive platform. And this is something called the Audi space frame. One of the benefits of the space frame is that the entire car is made from aircraft-grade aluminum. The benefit of that is it is 40% lighter than steel, but it's also roughly 40% more rigid than steel, so it has much better energy-absorbing properties. So let's take a look at the structure here. Obviously, you've got large aluminum beams that run all the way around the driver. Looks like somewhat of a roll cage. But there's another way I want you to think about this car. I want you to think about the roof skin and the hood and the doors and the quarter panels. These are not here for strength. They're just there to make the car look good. The car is literally built around a rigid aluminum roll cage. All the suspension points are attached to that, and the engine is attached to that, everything else. And this is what will do its job when the car gets into a very severe accident. Now, speaking of things like airbags, we have the obvious. We have a driver and passenger front airbag. We have airbags in the sides of both seats, and we also have the curtain airbag just in case you get hit side on. From a side collision point of view, we have multiple beams in each door, so if the car gets hit, instead of the energy trying to work its way through this rather large opening, Now the energy has to move sideways and down the side of the car, and as a result it keeps the energy away from the occupants that are inside. Next, in the event of a very heavy frontal crash, just like every other Audi, the seats in the car have what we call back guard built into them. And it's basically a whiplash protection system to make sure that the driver's neck has the least amount of injury possible. In addition to that, we have another kind of safety that we can talk about. I think we can all agree that this car is going to draw eyes no matter where it goes. And it would be an awful shame for you to walk out of a nightclub some night and find that your R8 has gone missing. And just like every other Audi, we have gone to the nth degree to make sure that that can't happen. The first thing we have installed on all Audis is an alarm system. So the lights will flash, the horn will go off and let people know that the car is being tampered with. The second thing that we have built into all Audis is an immobilizer system. This car cannot be hot-wired, cannot be started. In fact, the only way to start one of these cars is to replace the electronic control modules, replace all the keys, replace the ignition, and needless to say, that is a very, very, very expensive process. So in order to get this car moving, you either need the original key, and in other words, you're the owner, or the car needs to be put on the back of a flatbed and taken away. That's possibly the only way the car could be stolen. Talking about performance for the Audi R8 is a very easy thing to do. But let's jump in and take a look at some of the options and also some of the standard equipment that comes with this car. From an engine point of view, you've got a 4.2 FSI V8, which turns out 420 horsepower, or you have the optional 525 horsepower FSI V10. Needless to say, both of these engines are very powerful. They're also high revving engines as well. And I can tell you there's nothing more fantastic than driving a V8 or a V10 at 7,500 RPM. Next, from a transmission point of view, you've got two options. You've got the more traditional 6-speed manual, and in this car it feels absolutely fantastic. You've also got an aluminum shift gate built around the shifter, and it makes a wonderful sound as you're driving down the street or around the racetrack. Next, for somebody that wants a great combination of manual and automatic, we have a transmission called the Ortronic. Now, interesting enough, this is exactly the same transmission as the manual. However, we put a lot of hydraulics and electronics on it. We take away the clutch pedal, and this does all the work for you. Now, we also put paddles on the steering wheel, so you can choose to change gear whenever you want, or you can even use the shifter to do that. But the one thing you don't have to worry about is a clutch. And one of the added bonuses that comes with the Ortronic transmission is the fact that you've got launch control to help you get off the starting line very quickly. Talking about performance, power without control is absolutely pointless. One standard piece of equipment that comes with every R8 is Quattro. Now in this car we arrange it a little bit differently. The majority of the drive goes to the rear wheels. However, when it does detect slippage, it can send upwards of 30% of the available power to the front wheels. Next, let's take a look at the braking system. As you can imagine, this is derived from motorsport. We have massive vented rotors, which are also cross-drilled on the front, and the same arrangement on the rear. The thing we use to clamp those, in other words, the brakes themselves, the brake calipers are 8-piston Brembo front calipers and 4-piston Brembo rear calipers. I can assure you, no matter what speed you're doing, these will haul any car to a stop almost instantly. Next up is the suspension that we used on this car. When this car was originally designed, it has a heavy influence from Audi Sport. And one of the reasons why Audi Sport got involved with the project is they knew at some point this car was going to be used for racing. Needless to say, from a suspension point of view, performance was one of the things they were chasing, and also motorsport was one of the things they were chasing as well. This car uses a double wishbone front suspension and a double wishbone rear suspension. Built into that is the Audi magnetic ride system, and on all US spec R8s, this is standard equipment. By pressing a button on the inside of the car, you can take the car from having a very controlled and comfortable ride to an almost racetrack ready ride. The car becomes very stiff, but needless to say, the handling improves as well. Moving to the interior, this is an absolutely fantastic place for any driver to be. As soon as you sit in here, you know that this car means business. The seating position is absolutely perfect. Dead pedal, good leverage for hard cornering. The steering is fully adjustable, so regardless of your height or size, you're going to be able to make the seating position work. But also, one of the unique things about the R8 is how comfortable it is. In fact, on long journeys, this car is going to feel more like an A6 or maybe even a Q7 in terms of its comfort level. And speaking of that, if you have a car like this, you are going to drive a lot and you're probably going to take a lot of weekend trips. One of the unusual things about the R8 is the amount of storage that it has, considering the class of car that it's in. We have a decent sized trunk up front, and then we also have additional storage behind both the driver and passenger seat. Needless to say, you've got ample door pockets both sides and a decent sized glove box as well. From an entertainment point of view, while you're on your long drive, we also have the available Bang & Olufsen sound system. Creates an absolutely fantastic, clear sound, and something that's unique is when you stand on the gas pedal in this car, there is going to be a slight delay for the Gala system to actually kick in and increase the sound of the stereo. And this was something that was deliberately designed in. Many people would prefer to hear the sound of their engine while they're accelerating versus the music that they're listening to. I think it's a rather unique touch. When we take a look at this car from a technology point of view, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. First of all, we can look at it from the electronics that are available for the car. And the second way we can look at it is from the engineering point of view and what the car has been designed around and what the car has been designed to do. Taking a look at it from an electronics point of view, all the driver aids you genuinely would like are here. First of all, we have navigation, which is incredibly capable. It also comes with real-time traffic. Next up, we have a driver information display that will give you all the information you would need on a long journey or even at the racetrack. In fact, it even has a lap timer built into it. But it will give you fuel left to empty, miles traveled, how long you've been in the car. We also have two memories, a long-term memory and a short-term memory. Next up, we have something we call Gala. This comes with the standard radio system and will adjust the sound up and down as you drive faster or slower without you having to touch the stereo system. That also comes as part of the Bang & Olufsen package as well. We also have Bluetooth, which comes with the car's standard equipment. Needless to say, you can sync virtually every cell phone, and it's hands-free, which is now a requirement by most state laws. But when we take a look at this car from a technology engineering point of view, we have a very different vehicle here. This is a car that was designed from a motorsport point of view. We knew at some point this car would go racing, and every component on it and around it is designed for this car to perform at the highest levels. But one of the things you do not give up, and this is unique, is the fact that the car is still extremely comfortable and also a very easy car to live with on a daily basis.